Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today's video is a little bit different but does focus on card making. So I want to show you how I would buy a digital stamp online. In this case I'm buying one on Etsy. And then I'm going to show you in both Photoshop and Illustrator how I would resize that stamp to print it at home to fit on the card that I want. So to begin, I'm going to purchase this stamp here. This is on Lemon Shortbread's website. If you check out her page, she has a bunch of digital stamps that are really pretty. And so I picked out one that I like that I think my sister would like for her birthday card. And so this is the one I'm going to purchase here. Looking down in the description, I want to make sure that this stamp is going to suit my needs. So there's two things you want to look for. First of all, this one is 300 DPI, which is the dots per inch. And so 300 is print resolution. You can usually get away with 150 or higher. You don't ever expect to see anything beyond 300. 300 is the max, it's what you need. But if it's something like 200, it's still going to print clear on most printers. You're going to be fine. But as a best practice, you normally see 300 DPI on prints, and that's what you want. This is a JPEG file, so it's an image file. It's a raster file. It says she also provides a transparent PNG file. This is really important too. A PNG can have transparent layers or areas in the file that are see-through. So if you were putting this on a background and you're compiling everything in a digital program, then this shape will show just the shape, and anywhere that's outside of the area of the art will show your background. This can be really helpful if you are compiling everything in a program, but I'm going to print this out and cut it out anyway, so that doesn't matter to me. It says the artwork is 7 inches high, which is almost the size of an 8.5 by 11 paper, and I know my card will be smaller than that, so I know that this is going to be more than what I need. Just looking over everything, it seems everything's good. The copyright seems pretty good. It's for personal use, so everything should be good there. I don't see any issues. So I'm going to add this to my cart. I'm going to click the Buy It Now, and then I'm just going to proceed to checkout. Okay, so now I've made my purchase, and this is the confirmation screen after my order. There's a link that says View Your Digital Files Now, so I'm going to use that to download, or hopefully download, the images that I purchased. So there's two versions here. There's a JPEG and a PNG file. I'm going to download both, just because I purchased them both, so I'll put them in a folder somewhere just in case I need them. Okay, so I have this purchase now, and I've clicked the download buttons, and I have that downloaded to my downloads folder, and I can find those files down here in my taskbar as well in Chrome. So I'm going to start by doing this in Illustrator first, and there's a reason why, and I'll show you that. So in Illustrator, I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to click Create New on the left. And then I want to select the letter format. This is a typical 8.5 by 11. That's exactly what I want as a paper size. That's what my printer uses. And any raster images that I bring in, which this is a rasterized image, will be at 300 DPI. That's what I want as well. So I'm going to click Create, and that's going to bring up the artboard. Now, to bring the image into Illustrator that I've downloaded, I'm going to go File and choose Place. I'm going to locate that in my Downloads folder. And I'm going to bring in the JPEG. I don't need the PNG. PNG will be a higher resolution file. So I'm going to bring in the JPEG image. So when I click Place, it's going to bring it up on my cursor. So I just need to click somewhere on my artboard, and that's going to bring this into the document. Now, if I go over to my info window on the right, I can see that this is 7 inches high at that 300 DPI, so it is exactly as described in the Etsy listing. If you want to view this window, if you don't have this tab up, you can just go up to Window and then scroll down to Info and make sure that that's checked. If you can't find it and it says it is checked, you can just toggle it off and on again. You'll see it pop up. And so now what I want to do is resize this to a size that I want so it prints at the exact size I need to fit on my card, because 7 inches is definitely too big. So I'm just going to push this over to the side for a minute. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose the square tool. That's the rectangle tool using M, or I can click it in the toolbar. I'm going to click somewhere on my document once, And then I'm going to bring up a dialog box to create a window or a rectangle at a very specific size. I have this set to an A2 size card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to make a rectangle at that size. Now if I click E on my keyboard or I come over here, I can use the free transform tool. I like this one because it's versatile. You could also use the rotate tool, which is R. And then if I come down by the corner, I'm going to hold down the shift key so that I keep restrained movements here as I rotate this. I'm going to click and drag it up vertical, and then I'm going to go to the arrow key or click V, and then I'm going to click and drag this into the center of the artboard. I'm going to come down to the swatch palette here on the left at the bottom of the toolbar, and I'm going to click the arrow to swap the fill and the stroke. Right now the box is filled with a color and I want to just have an outline stroke so that I can see the inside. So I'm going to click that. It's going to switch that color to the outside. If I click off of the image or the item into the artboard, you can see that I have this outline of my card. So that's the base of my card. That's an A2 size card. That's what I create most of my birthday cards or greeting cards at. And so that's going to be what I use as my guide. I'm going to kind of lay out my card here so I can get a feel of the sizing that I actually need. So I'm going to create another rectangle by selecting the one I have, clicking Command C or Control C on a Windows machine. This is on a Mac, and so I'm going to Command C and then Command F, which pastes that copy in place on top of the one I have. I'm going to come over here and my cursor is going to change to some arrows, and I want those corner ones. I'm going to hold down Shift and Option to constrain the proportions, and I'm going to slowly click and drag that inward. And then I'm going to come up to the top box here, make sure that the arrows come up, and just hold down the Option key only, and that's going to allow the top and the bottom to constrain and resize at the same proportion. So now what I'm planning for my card is, this is my card base, and I'm going to keep that white. And then this is my patterned background paper that I'm going to use. Now I'm ready to bring in the artwork, so making sure the V is selected, the selection tool. I'm going to click and drag my artwork into the center of the artboard. And now I need to resize this because it does not fit. So using the same method as before, I'm going to mouse over this corner until these side arrows come up. I'm going to hold down Shift and Option to constrain the proportions so that it doesn't distort as I scale it down. Now I'm going to place this on the card where I think I'm probably going to want it, and check the size and see if that's sort of what I'd like to do. I think that this would work really well on the patterned background. I still have room to put a sentiment if I decide to as well. So this is the size I want. So I'm going to place this up in the top corner to print. And then I'm going to remove these lines by selecting them and then clicking delete on my keyboard. I just don't want them to print. Now, the reason why, if you can tell, I set this up in Illustrator first is so that I could measure out the size that I want my stamp printed at without having to guess. If you don't use Illustrator, you could lay down a card and pull out a ruler and decide approximately with the height that you want. I like doing it this way because I'm a visual person, and so I can see almost exact what this stamp is going to look like when it's printed. Now, when I put it in the corner, I want to make sure I leave a little bit of an edge because my printer is not an edge-to-edge printer, so it needs a border and I don't want it to cut off any of the stamp. So I want to make sure that it's inset just from that edge. Now I'll show you how to do this in Photoshop, how to resize it as well to approximately 3.5 inches high by 2 inches wide, which is the new size we have that I can see by looking in the info panel. So inside Photoshop, you're going to want to open your file. So you click Open on the left, locate it in your Downloads folder, click the image or the file name, and then click Open. So I have the image here in Photoshop. The way you resize it is very simple. You go up to Image, choose Image Size, and it comes up in inches, the width and height of this image. I know the height is 7 inches. That was the original document size. If it's not on inches, if it's on pixels or something, you can click the drop down and switch it to the correct one. If I were to switch it to pixels, for example, it switches both, and it is because they are constrained. So I'm going to bring this back to inches. You want to make sure before you resize this that the icon with the chain link is active. And so you're going to know it's active by seeing these two lines connecting that icon to the height and the width. If they were not connected, it would look like this. There would be no lines and there would be no highlight around the icon. So I'm going to click the chain icon that constrains the aspect ratio as it's popping up. And so when I resize it, it will keep the proportions the same so that it doesn't look all squished. So I want to make the height 3.5 inches from that 7. And you can see that that automatically switches the width to match. So it's approximately 2 inches. And the resolution is 300 dpi as it was advertised in the Etsy ad. And so I have that filled in. I'm going to click OK, and that resizes the image to the exact size that I need to print. Now, when you normally click Command P or File Print, it'll put it in the center of your paper. The problem with this is you print an 8.5 by 11 cardstock sheet. Through your printer, you have your image and you cut down into the paper to cut out your image, and you've wasted this entire sheet of paper. I like my image up in the top corner. So I'll show you the way to do that in Photoshop. If you scroll down in the box below here, you can uncheck the box that says Position Center. And so now you can change the position. So let's make the coordinates about 2 inches from the top and 2 inches from the left. And so that's going to inset that image a little bit from the top left corner, and you're going to have the rest of your paper to use for a different project. Now at the top of this dialog box, there was a warning to make sure that the printer is managing the color settings. So every printer is different. I'm not going to go through that part of it, but I think either way, if you print this, it should be fine because there's no color. It's all in grayscale. So if you have black ink, it should print in black ink regardless. That's more for getting color accuracy. So then you send it to print, and then you should be good to go. So this is 2 ways that you can resize your images and reprint them in Illustrator or Photoshop to create digital prints for your cards. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. If you have any questions at all, or if you would like to see any more videos about Photoshop or Illustrator or other Adobe products, just let me know in the description below, and I'd be happy to show some more if you're interested. If you did find this video helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified as I post more videos to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.